Hey everyone, it's Tech Tuesday and you're watching Ask a Tech. My name's Alex and we are at our customer service lab at Plant 39 in South Bend, Indiana. And we had some technical difficulties with our live video. I kept John for a little bit longer because I wanted to make sure that you guys had clear answers for all of your questions. John, thanks for being here today.
Absolutely.
Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself? How long have you been with Lippert?
I've been with Lippert almost 4 years in the leveling and slides electronics team. I usually deal with retail customers, but I also deal with the dealers also.
Okay, perfect. He kind of said a little bit, you specialize in slide outs, which is actually what we're going to be talking about today. So everything that relates to slide outs. Can you tell us what's your favorite part about your job?
Favorite part about Lippert, core values, it's a good company, it's a family atmosphere. We all get along, we do a lot with the community. It's a really good place to work.
Good deal. Yeah, you guys seem pretty tight-knit here at customer service. Awesome. Well, we did have a number of people that left questions on our teaser video last week. We're going to start with those. For those of you that have other questions, feel free to throw those along. We do have service technicians that are going to be tending to those for at least the rest of the day today, so we will get to them, we promise. Let's just go ahead and jump right in.
Absolutely.
So our first question is from Mark Shuttler, and Mark said, I hear that the slide supports you put under for support, it's not good for slides. They need to move some during windy days, ... Is that true?
Absolutely. What Mark is referring to is when your slide out is extended, almost like support rods underneath. We don't really recommend that because we want it to have a little bit of movement, whether your slide out's extended and you're walking around in your unit or it's a windy day. Yeah, we want it to have a little bit of movement. So Mark, good job. You're correct on that one.
Good deal. Next we have Stephen Akers. Shout out to you, Stephen. You had a ton of questions this month and we really appreciate it. I am going to have John answer a few of them, and after that we'll probably get a hold of you so we can call you and just kind of talk about some of those detailed ones a little bit more. First question from Stephen is, how often should the Schwintek or in-wall slide be lubed?
So you'll hear Schwintek, you'll hear in-wall. It's the same system, absolutely. Some of the older units, they were calling them Schwinteks, in-wall, so it's the same thing. We really don't recommend a time frame to lube the Schwintek or in-wall. Biggest thing with those is these are the racks that go on the side of the slide out wall. There's going to be 2 of them. Some units have 3. Keep an eye on this. You want to make sure those are clear of debris, no mud, muck, anything like that. And then the slide out seals, those are actually pre-lubed. They stay lubed. So if you want to do anything, we recommend like a mild detergent, soap and water. Okay. Yeah.
So we've talked about the mild detergent before in previous Ask a Tech videos, just like a Dawn dish soap or Dial, something easy. Yeah. So we've got another question from Steven. Which would be a better lube for the Schwintek or in-wall slide? A dry PFTE or silicone?
If you're gonna use a lubrication, you're gonna want to use something with PTFE in it. Okay. Like I said, the biggest thing is a little goes a long way. Keep an eye on the tracks. As we stated earlier, you want to make sure these are clean of debris. But if you're gonna do something with the PTFE in it.
Okay. We also have from Steven the Schwintek motor wiring. Do we sell a dummy plug for the motor end that is jumpered? Something that would let you check wiring continually?
We don't have a dummy plug. What Steven's talking about is at the top of the motors plugs into a harness. Harness runs to the controller. If one of these wires gets chafed or gets caught, you can get a error code up here. Best way for that is do a continuity test on the harness end to end. Make sure there's nothing going on here. Some dealers will buy a test harness, like a 30-foot harness, just so they can go right up to the motor, plug it in. If it corrects the issue, they know that it was something in the harness. If not, it could be something in the motor.
Okay. Awesome. And lastly from Steven is Schwintek speed control. Does one side follow the other like a master slave?
The in-wall doesn't operate like that. What it is it runs on 2 motors. Or top of each column, you're going to have a motor. And in the top of the motor here, it's a magnet. And what it does is it counts revolutions. And so they'll run out continuously. Now, the way the system works is if one starts running a little more, the system will slow that one down and let the other side kind of catch up.
Okay.
And so you may see it walk back and forth a little bit. But the biggest thing with that is keeping the motors in sync.
Okay.
And the way to do that is when you run your room out, run it fully out, keep your finger on the button for a second or two after the motors amp out. Same with when you bring it in. You want to stay on that button until they both amp out,
Okay.
stop, and then just kind of hold it for a second. And that'll keep them together.
Okay. Going along with that a little bit, if one side of my slide out is running faster than the other, what could be causing them? So what could cause them to not sync up?
These tracks are very important. It could be something that there is debris, dirt, something like that in here. So again, keep them clean because that can cause drag. Also, when you're running the room, if you run the room halfway out,
Okay.
halfway in, those motors can get out of sync.
Okay.
So that can cause it too.
Okay. So just make sure once again that you're running the motors all the way out.
Yep, all the way out or all the way in.
Okay.
Correct.
Do you advise bumping it out enough to just get to the fridge or get to the bathroom or anything like that?
We get that question a lot. We don't recommend it.
Okay.
I understand, it's not the fastest, it can take a little bit of time to get out, so I understand sometimes you got to get to the bathroom, kitchen. If you do that and just bump it out a little bit, make sure when you retract it, stay on the button until they both amp out, so that'll kind of give that hard stop again.
Okay, perfect. Let's see, my slide out will not operate or it stops during normal travel, and this is the in-wall slide out again. What do I do?
Biggest thing with these is the controller. This controller tells us a lot what's going on with the slide, whether it be right there on the label, it has different codes telling you, it could be low battery, high battery, motor short, wire short. We have some LEDs in here that'll flash, letting you know what's going on. So if, it'll tell you what kind of code it's giving you. You can look, see what's going on. Now, say it's something with the harness or even something with the motor. There is a manual override on here that you can use to get the room in. So if you look right up here, there's a button in here. If you hit this button 6 times and then hold down on the 7th, you'll see that those lights started flashing back and forth rapidly. Okay, that puts it in manual override. Now, when you let go on the 7th, if those lights go out, start over because it didn't go into the manual override. So, as long as those lights are flashing back and forth, you have about 30-45 seconds to get to your switch and fully retract your room. Okay, now, after about 45 seconds of not operating it, it's going to go out of manual mode for you.
Okay. I don't know if you guys can really see this, but they are obviously flashing too, so it's not something subtle that you're going to miss. Let's switch over to the through frame hydraulic slides for a little bit. First question with these, I'm traveling down the road and I notice my hydraulic slide out has creeped out about 1 inch or 2. What could be causing this?
So the through frame hydraulic slide, it's just a different system. It's ran by cylinders, a pump. So if you notice when you're going down the road that your slide out's creeping out a little bit, could be a couple things. Most likely it's something with an internal cylinder.
Okay.
Just because you don't see any fluid outside, leaking, it still could be an internal bypass.
Okay.
So something like that would require a cylinder bypass test. It's something that probably should get to a dealer. I know a lot of these owners are very capable of doing things. Something like that, give us a call. We'll kind of go case by case, walk you through and try and figure out what's going on.
So you shouldn't just let it go?
No, absolutely. Something needs to be looked at to figure out what's going on.
Okay. Is this something that commonly happens?
It's not common. It can. There's a lot of units out there.
Okay.
But cylinders can fail, just like anything else. So we do get calls on it, and it's a pretty simple fix.
Okay. Good deal. I was setting up at my campsite, and while extending my hydraulic leveling leg, my slide out started moving at the same time. Why would this be happening?
So the way hydraulics work, you're going to have your pump, there's going to be a manifold, your motor, your reservoir. On the manifold, you're going to have valves, and you're going to have a valve for different things, for your level legs, for your slide outs. These valves, the purpose of them is to either let fluid pass through or not. So if this valve is open, fluid's going to pass through. Whatever the valve's for, that's going to move. So if you're operating your jacks and your slide out's moving, something's going on with this valve.
Okay.
It's either getting energized, telling it to open, or it's stuck open.
Okay.
So there's different processes we can look at. We always want to make sure there's a spot where you can put a 5/32 Allen wrench. Always want to be counterclockwise for normal operation. Okay.
Okay. Got it. Let's see. If I lose power to my hydraulic pump or my pump motor goes bad, is there a way to manually override the system to bring my slide out in? So basically, what's the manual override process for the hydraulic pump?
So for the hydraulic system, the manual override is first thing we're going to do is find the valve for the slide out.
Okay.
It's going to be on the manifold. You're going to get a 5/32 Allen wrench, like we talked about, put it in the end, and we're going to turn it clockwise. Clockwise, what it's going to do is manually open this, and then you'll see at the end of your pump motor, there's a little protective label. If you pull that label back, there's a spot for just a standard hex bit.
Okay.
We're going to put the hex bit in there, in a drill, not an impact wrench, anything like that, and we're going to run it clockwise.
Okay.
Clockwise is going to retract it. Okay, so once we get it retracted, and don't be afraid, just pull the trigger, let it go. It'll take about 45 seconds or so.
Okay.
So after we do that, we're going to go back to the valve and close it counterclockwise. So it'll close it off, the slide will stay in there.
Perfect. Last one, what type of fluid do you recommend, and what is the correct fluid level for my reservoir?
What we recommend, there's two different fluids out there. There's an ATF fluid, and then there's a hydraulic. So what you're going to want to do, this big thing, look at your reservoir, and I know sometimes they're not accessible, they're darker. Take a flashlight, shine it up on the bottom of it. Look, if you see a reddish, darkish, pinkish, that's going to be ATF fluid, automatic transmission fluid. We recommend like a Dextron 3, Mercon 5.
Okay.
If you see it's clear or like a yellowish, that's going to be a hydraulic oil. And we recommend an AW32 weight for that.
Okay. As far as the fluids go, if you look in it and you see whatever color fluid, should you stick with that color fluid?
We recommend keeping the same fluid. Yeah, if you
So
have
don't switch
hydraulic
those.
fluid in there, we would recommend adding ATF. Yeah, stick with what you have. And then the big thing for your fluid level, you always want to check with everything retracted. Okay. Check your reservoir. You want to be about a 1/4 inch from the fill cap.
All right.
So never check it with everything out. Usually you're going to be around a 1/2 tank for that, but always check it with everything retracted, and a 1/4 inch from the fill cap is what we recommend.
Awesome. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today. We did answer some of your guys' questions on Facebook. If you still have something, don't worry about it. We have customer service techs that are going to be tending to those for the rest of the day. John, thank you again for being here with us today and answering all this. How can our viewers get a hold of you if something does come up?
If something does come up, we have our call center. We're here to take your calls, 574-537-8900. We also have our website where we have live chat that you can reach out to us. We also have an app. It's called MyLCI that you can download on your phone. It's free of charge. There's a lot of great information on there.
Awesome. So you guys have tons of ways to get a hold of our customer service techs. Like you said, they're pretty much here all the time at your hands. We also have had a few people suggest future Ask a Tech episodes. We've got them on the calendar, so keep an eye out for them. We do have something really special planned for next month, so stay tuned in the next couple of weeks for details on that. And we will see you in 2018, and have a great rest of your Tech Tuesday.